Hey, everybody, welcome to the time for Spoilerin. Because when it's Spoilerin time, it's now, because that's this show. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Brian, and I believe that's a quote from the Bible. There's a time to sow and a time to spoilerin, and a time to talk about spoilerin times. And
today,
that's that time.
on its Spoilerin time, it will be time to spoil Cosmos. And we've got Allison Sheridan here to give us a little bit of her impressions of episode 1, because she just watched that one. We'll also talk about episode 3. We're going to talk about Archer, because Brian and I are caught back up on the Archers. And Brian, I would like to talk about The Shield, episode 4.
Oh, yeah. All right, good. Let's go ahead and dive right in on Cosmos. First, let's talk with Allison. You went and saw episode 1 finally, right?
Yeah, we just got back last night a couple days ago from vacation, so got a chance to jump in and see the first one. Our one fear was we love Neil deGrasse Tyson, love every physics anyway, but we were a little bit worried that it might be kind of all about Neil, because he's got sort of a thing that he's this presence and everything. But I thought he did an amazing job of not doing that, but then the closing of it where he talked about the original Cosmos and why it was he became a physicist and how he wanted to become a better man. It was just very, very moving at the end there. I really, really liked that.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly a couple of weeks ago, and my question was there any legitimate reason why that wasn't the opening of the show? Because that's when you actually had feels, and instead they open up with like Twitter facts about the universe.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird, but I liked it because I was afraid it was going to be all about Neil, and if he had started with that, I think that would have made more of the vision being about him. By doing it at the end, it acknowledged Carl Sagan, really doing such a great job of describing him. I don't know, I thought it closed it out really well. I really, really liked that.
All right. Well, let's move on to this latest episode, Tom. What did you think on this?
Oh, no, you're going to spoil the other episodes?
Yeah, get ready.
Okay, so check this out, Brian. Can you believe that Isaac Asimov did the theory of gravity and wrote Principia? Oh, my God, what a twist.
Oh, man.
I would love it. How great would it be if an episode came out on April Fool's Day? They just dropped all these wrong names in there and just let it linger.
It was probably the most disappointing episode yet for me.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't want to oversay that because I still enjoyed it. And part of it is that sort of like, oh, okay, I kind of know this stuff already. And that's just always going to be there. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I felt like they just spent a lot of time on his story and the jealousy between Hook and Asimov.
Stop saying Asimov. it's Isaac Newton.
Sorry. See, my own joke came back to bite me. Newton. Between Hook and Newton, and I kept being like, okay, but get to gravity, get to orbital mechanics, get to the distance from the sun. Let's talk about that. Make people understand it. Let's have that moment like the calendar in the first episode. And I really feel like they didn't have that moment this time.
No, well, first of all, the nice thing about them focusing on the history is that there was a story in there, and I really dug it. I didn't know all that stuff about Hallie, and I didn't know about the interplay, and I learned news. I learned more this episode than in any other episode before. It was not a greatest hits of crap I had already learned in science, and the story of the cosmos.
Maybe that's all it is then.
What's that?
Maybe that's all it is. Because, I mean, I learned a lot of this in The Baroque Cycle by Neil Stephenson.
Oh, I never got past like the first
no one else
quarter.
Finished. Yeah,
exactly. I read the first
Patrick
quarter
Norton
of
are the only people on
Quicksilver.
Earth that finished that book.
Let me ask one question. Did they spend a bunch of time, like 12 minutes they spent in the first episode with cartoons about Bruno?
Yes. No, as a matter of fact, most of this episode is cartoons. Most of the parts you care about. It's a stylistic decision that I partly roll my eyes at, but like, would it have been better if they had done it like a Nova thing where they hired, community theater people to act out these roles? You, sir, shall not. Sir. Would it be better if it was live action somehow? I don't know that it would.
No. Maybe, I don't know. The History Channel, and okay, full disclosure, my wife produced some of those History Channel documentaries, but they have both good and bad versions of that, right? Sometimes they pull it off and you're like, wow, that was really good. Sometimes they skimp on the budget and they don't. So a bad reenactment would be just as bad but these animations are so overdone And
yeah, it's so stylized.
you go from seeing him like at Oxford, in Newton's house, in the office, holding the actual book. Those are amazing moments. And then you go to the crappy, maybe it's that, the animation's actually not that crappy, but the story's just, the contrast doesn't work for me.
It's distracting, I think. And I mean, why not have Neil tell the story? I mean, you got a great voice, a great actor.
No, you can't. No, that would violate.
But then what do you show?
That's
the problem.
That's the thing is you never you always show, never tell. That would be a terrible idea to just have him talking about it. I'll tell you the one thing the animation has going for it is my kids walking past the office every time they see it's on, they get sucked in, and part of the reason that we love Cosmos is because we caught it as kids because of the highly visual styles spoke to us at the time, and in that regard, I think they're doing the right call on it. I like the fact that there was a story on this one. I like the fact that the petty jealousies mattered for how the science was told. I loved the fact that I learned more stuff about how this. I'd hate to say it, Tom. I think this was my favorite of
no,
them.
that's all right. I mean, it's I totally see where you're coming from. It doesn't change my opinion of it, though.
The one thing. The one thing I truly hated and that I'm done with is you don't need to explain to me that your ship of the imagination can go anywhere and see anything. We get it. We get it. You don't need to explain it again.
Ship.
3
They must have
episodes
paid
in
a
a
lot for
row.
that.
But Brian, our ship of the imagination can go anywhere. I still feel there's an elegance lost, and I think it's in the writing.
I agree.
And the writing is not universally bad, so I don't know if one of the writers is good and one isn't, or if it's just kind of spotty. But there are times when the writing, and you just picked an example that was one of my favorites, which they're like, oh, guys, come on. That's just, you could find a better transition than that. And some of the writing on the history I thought was a little cheese-tastic too.
Agreed.
But the Cosmos, and I don't know, did Carl Sagan write the scripts for Cosmos? I don't know if he did. But
maybe he got a writing credit, which is different.
Maybe I'm coloring it because I grew up watching it, and they just felt so much more powerful and more elegant than what we're getting writing wise in these episodes.
Well, plus also, it's unfair to make that comparison because you are hearing it for the first time on the original, and it's the experience of the dawning of understanding that really works for us. I will say that the writing feels significantly flatter. There's not much poetry in it. You can clearly hear them like throw in these random ass statements that somebody in some production meeting said, make sure to say something about the blah, blah, blah. And again, it's like, can we go through one episode without playing defense and tiptoeing around God or whatever? Here's the nutty thing. Why don't you just tell me about the cosmos?
Disagree. Yeah, right. I've disagreed with you on the effect of the way they've treated religion in the first 2 episodes. This one, I was like, okay, that was just, now you're just taking a pot shot. That was unnecessary. Like Newton, who believed in God, and they kind of look at, I'm like, oh, why? You don't have to do that. That is totally unnecessary.
Well, exactly. I don't know. It's just, again, and I said it before, it's like, I feel like all that crap is beneath Cosmos. And somebody pointed out to me that
stick to the science.
Yes, agreed. And somebody said, well, the original Cosmos said evolution is a fact, not a theory.
Which it is.
Yeah, that's fine. But like, that's not what I remember sticking out like a sore thumb in it, So it's like, at least dress it up a little better. I don't know.
Yeah. I just found an article in Huffington Post. Apparently, creationists are asking for equal airtime on Cosmos.
Oh, of course. Look,
and Neil deGrasse Tyson has responded by asking for equal airtime in church sermons so he can talk about science.
Yeah.
It's a little tit for tat.
Just stop it.
Did you hear about that controversy where they edited out 15 seconds in Oklahoma?
Well, I heard them deny that it was edited out, that it was a mistake.
Okay. Well, and I actually believe it would be a mistake. I'll buy that because it seems like it was very clumsily handled.
Right, and they didn't even edit out the most illuminating portion.
Yeah, agreed.
Of the show. Well, Allison, don't let my comments dissuade you from watching the other 2 shows, because this is probably one of the best science shows that has been made, despite my nitpicking, because I just want it to be perfect.
Yeah,
definitely not. And Brian said enough good stuff about it that we'll watch it. We'll pretty much watch any science stuff that's on. We just, science nerds, we just watch all of that stuff. So
I don't think
I'm
still
you
going
could
to
talk
keep
me out of it.
watching. In fact, this week, just total side note, I watched it live over the air, instead of
Did it look better?
Did it sound better?
No, I thought it looked great on my laptop streaming over the internet.
Was the science truer in that higher resolution?
It was actually the science was the history was more accurate.
There was a truthiness on that.
Yeah, the truthiness level is off the charts over the air.
I hate to be really dumb here, but what do you mean watched it on your laptop? It's on the
first two episodes
too?
I watched on Monday on Fox.com instead of watching live on Sunday night.
Which means they were compressed and at lower resolution or whatever. And keep in mind, like even if you're watching on your DVR and it is technically in HD, it is compressed. Whereas when you watch live over the air on an antenna, you are getting a true uncompressed or whatever
720p apparently.
Yeah, the best possible purest signal that you could possibly get, even better than when you later go to download it.
All I really care is that they not do those horrible cuts to commercials where the music is kind of going down nicely, smoothly, and then they cut it into a sharp curve. Those breaks were just so jarring. That really, really took me out of the show.
Allison, you have some very specific demands from your television programming. I would
Good
love
audio.
I would love to see you in a production meeting with everyone, and they're talking about like how they're going to set up the button to tease the next segment. You're like, yeah, but just don't drop it off real fast at the end.
Well, come on. You didn't find it harsh? You didn't notice that? Or the audio levels jumping all over the place? Neil,
Yeah,
be in the middle of a sentence and it would go up, 5 dB.
You could tell certain statements like, he's on one location and then you could tell that they just did a fill statement from inside a booth. I did notice that, but I don't know if that's just because like I did that with hacking the system or what.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't mean to be demanding. I mean, as long as the science is truth.
But at least you're specific. That's what matters. I love that. All right, so we're going to talk about Archer. You want to hang around with us, Allison, or do you care about...
No, I'm going to go because we are not caught up.
Okay. Oh, good. Well, thank you so very much. It was an awesome time hanging out with you.
Great. Good times.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
All right, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Let's, we got what, like a 4 or 5 episode arc we got to run
I just want to know how often you tried to avert your eyes from Pam.
She's all I want to watch. It's the Pam show.
How
now.
often did you pause the video?
Never. No, I never paused it. Might rewound a segment or two.
Okay.
As far as I'm
all I
concerned,
can think of now when Pam comes on the TV is how much you like her.
and I got to point out, it has. Definitely part of it is having actually met Amber Nash now and how cool she is. And, but the character, I don't know, it cracks me up. I still need to change my text sound to her doing with the cocaine, which I thought was interesting. Do you notice the entire show long, they never show anybody doing cocaine the way it's supposed to be done? Like,
I wonder if that's something they feel they have to do, or if it's like just a stylistic choice.
Oh, no, I'm certain that's the standards and practices dance where it's like
saying like, look,
because
we can't encourage that.
They talk about snorting cocaine. They allude to the idea of injecting cocaine, and they say like, I don't know, that's a slippery slope. And they're like, no, it's a slippery slope to do cocaine. But then every time you ever see Pam doing cocaine, she's always eating cocaine cupcakes and just eating the cast and just grabbing mouthfuls or whatever, or drinking it or whatever.
Yeah,
so
no, it's I am eating these episodes up like little cocaine candy balls, and I'm Pam. None of them are blowing me away, and so I'm not sitting back and saying that was the best Archer ever, but I'm just hungry for more. It's like, all right, keep it coming. Like. It's classic H. John Benjamin. It's classic lines. It's right there. And how have you felt about the running gag about why isn't anybody saying phrasing?
Well, it's a backdoor way to continue to use the word phrasing, which, given the fact that I just said it's a backdoor way to continue phrasing, your line, of course, would be.
Yeah, why isn't anybody using phrasing? Seems like it's a writer's room argument.
You didn't catch. All right. Phrasing.
All
right.
Sorry,
okay.
I dropped the ball.
Yes.
Phrasing.
Thank you. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a different face on that. I agree. There's been very few like laugh out loud moments, but I'm generally happy the entire time and everything paces along. It's weird to spend so much of the plot time on Archer's mom feeling upset or bad about X, Y, or Z. I do very much enjoy how self-aware Ray and Archer are about the nature of them half-assing and jackassing through everything, and how it's it's the contempt for recognizing their own mortality. It's hot and cold, but I'd say I've never ended an episode sad for having spent that time, but I also never felt like any of these episodes would be the ones I would introduce someone to Archer with.
Correct. I think that's right where I'm coming from too. Like I'm getting some good Archer lines, getting some good Mallory lines. Maybe I'd like a little more Cheryl. I feel a little disappointed with what they've been doing with Cheryl. The most recent episode, the one from this past week, we got a little bit of the old Cheryl, but maybe she just wasn't available and they couldn't write her a lot or something. I don't know. But I want to see that happen, and maybe we're saving up for like a big old Cheryl country music road tour thing. It is hilarious. The idea, it was not lost on me, of trying to sell cocaine by taking it to Colombia.
Yes. Well, no, and it is a genuinely stupid plan, but I'll tell you what, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think it really actually kind of spoiled most of this season that they gave us that 12-minute montage of showing everything that's going to happen during the season. I think that was a bad idea, and I think that I think that was a real mistake that is affecting my comedy plotline enjoyment.
I don't feel that. I still don't feel that. The more I think about it, the more I forget what was in that trailer, other than knowing that, they were going to be running around trying to sell the cocaine, and Charlene, I'll say it right this time, is going to become a country star.
Yeah.
That's like, movie trailer stuff. That doesn't spoil anything for me.
No, but see, that's just it. There's a case to be made that movie trailers are taking something away from the experience. When the plot of the movie is stated in the movie trailer, and that's what the whole first act is about, you just kind of wait for the whole first act to be over so that finally you're getting to the new stuff. And that's how I feel like this whole season is now. I'm like, when's the tiger show up, and when's this, and when's, okay, now we've seen the Burt Reynolds
the Ray
mustache.
Shtick where he was faking being paralyzed was probably the most archery bit, right?
It was the only surprise that we've had, right?
Yeah. That is the only twist so far. That was a good one, but it wasn't major, right?
Yeah, well, it was just finally something that we didn't expect, and that genuinely it got a bark of laughter because it was so surprising. And anyway, that's where I'm at right now. Still enjoying it. I'm going to put most of the blame on seeing that.
You're going to watch tonight's episode, right?
Yes, of course. I already bought this. I already bought it.
Yeah, you have to. You paid for it.
That's right. That's the law. Otherwise, that's being wasteful. There are children in India who would love to watch that Archer episode. You're just going to leave it there?
Well, why don't you just send my leftover episode to them, Dad?
So talk to me about the Wes Anderson movie. Was there anything else you wanted to say on that?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I wasn't planning on spoiling that. You haven't seen it, right?
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't. Yeah, Bonnie will definitely want me to take her to it. So
all right, let's save it till you till you either are sure you'll never see it.
Okay.
Or you've seen it.
Yeah, we'll go see it. So I guess we could talk about, you're only on the 4th episode of The Shield, which was which one?
So I watched episode 4 of The Shield. Brian, I am starting to see the vague outlines of something interesting to me, but I know this hurts your heart for me to say.
Still feels like a procedural?
It still just feels like what I would expect. Partly cop procedural, partly like other people have built on The Shield, I'm sure. Yeah. Since The Shield came out, and now I'm like, oh well, yeah, cop shows do that now. But here's what I will say: I really enjoyed that this episode showed that Vic Mackey can fail, that he is not as in charge of his system as he thinks he is.
This is which remind me of the plot points.
This is the episode where the street war happens because the guys at the club with releasing the music. And then the other guy comes in and shots are fired. That's right. Somebody gets killed. And Vic goes and clamps down and is like, you guys are not going to have a street war. It's not going to happen.
Is this the one that ends with him grabbing the 2 leaders and placing them in an elevator?
container?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that is a perfect like microcosm of his entire episode, which is he thinks he's got it all under control and the solution, and then he goes to pick them up, and one of them died, and he's like, "Oh crap!" Like,
Yeah.
I actually didn't expect one of them to kill the other.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a good episode. Well, I hope it takes root in you, but then again, I will be the first to admit, by the time I watched The Godfather, I had seen every Godfather parody that had been out there. It had warmed its way and all this stuff. Hated The Godfather. As watching it as an adult for the first time, it was so boring, so cliche, so predictable. Hated it. And maybe that's a bit of what's happening with The Shield. I don't know.
Well, I'm committed. It's not so bad where I'm like, Brian, why are you making me watch this or anything? Like, I can see that it's quality, right?
Yeah.
And I'm committed to continuing to watch it, to see it through, and for good or ill, record my impressions for you.
Good. Well, then that's good enough for me. I'm down for it.
I do think just to complete the whole spoilering of the time, and now I'm blanking on the captain's name.
Alceveda.
I do feel like his story really feels paper doll. You know, like I want to drive out the corruption, so I better go to the community leader and get support. And he asked me for a favor, so I kind of have to, compromise on my principles a little bit. And but I did it, so that'll help me. Like it all feels right out of the playbook. So I'm waiting for that to start to give me some hints of something more interesting.
There's something more interesting.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I mean, I know
this is me pointedly not reacting.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, look, people are asking us to watch Rick and Morty, the Dan Harmon animated series. Have you seen any of those?
No, I haven't.
I hear great things about them. I saw the first 5 minutes of one. I was like, this will be funny. I suspect now that we've already had the Bravest Warriors experience, this is going to be like straight up Bravest Warriors type experience with a different flavor, or a regular show experience.
So where do we watch it? Where can we watch full episodes? Apparently online at adultswim.com.
Yeah.
Do you have to actually authenticate, or they'll just let you watch them?
I don't know. I'll buy them if I have to, but I'll look for them.
I will too. That's all good.
I'm getting people sending me their Plex information, so I'm able to access their media libraries on Plex. And I'm like, wow, it feels like I've spent so much time in a bubble. Like just having somebody loan me their media feels dirty. And I was like, how wrong is that it feels dirty to watch someone else's media legally?
Yeah.
I've been so beaten.
Well, you're probably not watching it legally.
Wait, why not?
Because their copy isn't legal in many cases.
So you're saying they probably did not.
Like it's not illegal for them to share their Plex connection. It might be illegal for them to share some of the things that they have. It might even be illegal for them to possess some of the things that they have.
Yeah. Well, I guess everything looked legit. I don't know.
Well, and again, do they have the right to give you that access?
Well, I don't know. Do they have the right to hand me their DVD and loan it? Because
yes, they do.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. Like we
but
can't.
They don't have the right to restream or rebroadcast digital files.
Well, I know, but they have the right to loan me their Slingbox account, right?
I don't know about that. That's a good question.
I mean, nobody's using it. So weird. So
yeah.
It's murky territory, Tom.
It is.
All right.
It's freaking did here. So my wife, for reasons I won't go into, needed to watch the most recent Amazing Spider-Man movie, the movie. So we're like, well, let's rent it. So we're like, all right, we're going to rent it. Can't rent it. Even though the second movie is about to come out, you cannot rent it.
You have to buy it.
Digital rental services. You have to buy it for $10. And you can't buy it on iTunes, apparently, unless I was missing something. You can buy it on Google Play and I think Vudu, maybe. Anyway, I could, however, I was like, well, I don't really want to pay $10 just to watch it once. I could go to Popcorn Time and find it. I did not. We did not use that, but I did launch it to look.
Yeah. Tell you what, man, knowing that we're like in public makes me have to be good all the time. In another lifetime, if I were another person, there are times I believe I might succumb to the weaknesses.
Rick and Morty's next week. Thanks, everybody, for watching. When it's Spoilerin time next week, we'll talk to you then.
I like it. See, it felt good, didn't it?
It did.
It's good.